the Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. Today is our Tuesday Conference Championship episode. We will break down the lines for the AFC and NFC conference title games. We will discuss our exec decision and our Simon Says. Do not fret. On Thursday, we will have the usual menu: sharp calls, foxhole, big balls, all that good stuff. Plus, we will get into some futures talk with the remaining teams, the four remaining teams, and their Super Bowl odds as they stand right now. How do we want to play those heading into conference championship weekend? Obviously, we're going to believe there's some value there. You want to get ahead of that. We're also going to have a lot of conversations about hedging strategies. Before the season began, Simon and I both gave out Super Bowl matchup plays. Simon actually gave out a Super Bowl matchup with the winner. Both of those were at very long odds. Both of those bets from Simon and I are still alive. So we want to talk a little bit about our hedging strategy heading into this weekend. I would bet that a lot of people have some kind of matchups in play that certainly involve potentially the Bills, the Eagles, the Bills, or the Chiefs and the Eagles. So good opportunity to run through some of the strategies on Thursday, live from our Tommy John home studios. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Chad, life is good. Sitting here in my Tommy John sweatpants, got my Eagles team in the conference finals. Damn, like Matt Mitchell was saying before the show, there's a pep in your step when the sport you love, your team has one game away from a Super Bowl. So yeah, it's been a fun 2 days so far since the Eagles won.
Listen, there's a pep in your step when your team is a game away from the Super Bowl, the way you feel, the way Matt Mitchell feels. Matt Mitchell, if people don't know, Matt Mitchell, every year during the playoffs, promises his entire neighborhood free ice cream if the Bills win a playoff game. So naturally, he spent yesterday going to the grocery store in his entire Bills getup, his Bills poncho. He sent us a picture. And then he buys pints of Ben and Jerry's and just passes it around the neighborhood. It was minus 20 degrees in Milwaukee yesterday. He made his son do it, and it was lovely the way he sort of built some character with his son, walking around their neighborhood, handing out ice cream. And now he's just got the entire neighborhood of Packers fans screaming, "Go Bills." You know when else you get a little pep in your step? When you're moribund, historically crappy, bad decision-making, poorly run franchise pulls the hottest head coaching prospect of the past 3 years.
We got him, Chad. We got him.
Got him. And he walks into the building, and
Yeah.
there's standing ovation from all across Hallis Hall. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams. This time next year, we're probably going to be talking about Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels in the NFC title game, and how amazing it's going to be to see these guys playing for the next decade against each other. Am I right?
I was so happy for you because we talked, it felt like months ago now. That's how long this playoffs have felt, this NFL season. But that was the guy they had to get. That was in the division. He knows the best team in your division's offense in and out. Like, if there's one guy that has the secrets how to stop Detroit Lions offense, he's the guy. And then you think about the pairing of him, offensive mind, with Caleb Williams. I mean, how can you not be over the moon at this point? I mean, I could be big between about the money. They're like, oh, I think they're overpaying him $13 million. Who cares? This is an organization that never spends the money.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy. The Bears owner, who are notoriously cheap, they put the money up. They went and got the guy. And it literally, I love every move he's already made so far too. Like his hirings, Dennis Allen for your defense. I know people are like, oh, he's such a shitty head coach. This guy was a huge reason that Saints defense had a huge turnaround when he went there. Like, again, if you're a Bears fan, you're absolutely killing this offseason already. And I'm excited to see what happens here going forward, because you already know that, don't just go sign a bunch of big weapons. Go get that offensive line, attack it, That's the key. The rest of for me, for the Bears, the rest of this offseason, address the offensive line. So yeah, I mean, home run. Got to give tons of credit to the front ownership, everybody that runs the Bears right now. Because me and you like to shit on them because how shitty they've been, but even you are just like, holy shit, we got them.
Yeah, I'm floored. I was convinced we were getting Brian Flores or Mike McCarthy or Cliff
Yeah,
Kingsbury. I had
I
no.
can't
It's
believe it.
also look. It's also interesting. Nobody was right. None of the reporting was
Shefty,
right.
Shefty, let's
Yeah.
give some love to Shefty.
Well, Shefty was right when it was right,
Yeah,
but in the run up, not a single person. The conversation all weekend was about Ben Johnson going to the Raiders and all the brouhaha, which was idiotic about Tom Brady
Tom
and the
Brady.
conflict of
Yeah,
interest and him calling the game and what he can say to Ben Johnson, and then that incredibly awkward interlude he had with uh, with Kevin Burkhardt about, are you staying at Fox? Is this a conflict? Like, it was so performative and stupid. Um, and none of it mattered because Ben Johnson went to the Bears. And by the way, I happen to know conversations with the Bears were like deep in progress over the weekend when all this was happening. So nobody had it and nobody was right. So just fantastic.
they got to
Absolutely.
change the rules. I mean, it's if you're a Detroit's fan, I get the rage, but they got to change the rules because, like you just said, they were deep into conversations over the weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
it's absurd.
It was astonishing. But good for the Bears. I'm proud of
Yeah,
them. So proud of this team. I love this franchise. I've given them so much. I want them to give back. That's it. That's it. I don't want to consign my kid to a lifetime of misery. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. And now new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code favorites. Deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older. In Kentucky, gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF. In Iowa, terms, conditions, restrictions apply. All right, we're going to go through Washington, Philadelphia. We're going to go through Buffalo at Kansas City. I will pull one important stat from Evan Abrams. Brilliant roundup of stats, trends, and notes heading into the conference championship game, which you can read now on actionnetwork.com, read it in the Action Network app, as it pertains to underdogs. So since 2003, underdogs in the conference championship are 20 and 22 against the spread. The only round of the playoffs below 500 against the spread in that span in the Super Bowl era since 1966. Underdogs 53, 62, and 1 against the spread in the conference championship. Does that surprise you, Simon?
a little bit, but like you just think too about how random it is. I think obviously that Bengals Rams year went 2-0 dogs. Last year was 2-0, right? Am I wrong, Evan? I think last year was 2-0. Chiefs as a dog
Yep.
against the Ravens, and I mean me and Chad know we or maybe Chad was on the other side, but I remember the back door. The Lions were up 10, and we needed a back door to cover against the
No,
49ers
we were
last
both
year.
on the Niners.
No, I was definitely on the Lions.
What was the Oh, right. We were on the Lions and we were thrilled because it was going well, but we were
Yeah, they're
both
up 10, then they
anxious.
had to backdoor to get the
Yeah,
like 7 point cover, whatever it was. But yeah,
exactly.
it's so we're off to we have a couple of years here since since COVID where the dogs have been covering. But what I take from that from Evan is basically the laws of averages. Like we're due for a 2-0 favorites week, right? That's the way I'm looking at it above. Yeah, the dogs just went 4-0 against the closing number. I mean, we're gonna get into it here, but it's like if the line keeps moving on, obviously this Washington team, that's going to be value on the dog here. But right now, I think we both talked Sunday night. I thought there was value on the favorites. So
Yeah.
it's not shocking to see the early money coming in on the favorites.
Dogs 7-3 in the playoffs so far, including 4-0 against the closing number this past weekend. I'll reiterate. I was going through my notes yesterday and looked back at the notes from Sunday night based on Evan's tweet about dogs going 4-0 against the closing number. But the way those games landed, that's a Hall of Fame betting weekend. The fact that it came down to Ravens, who opened at +2, missed a 2-point conversion in a flukish drop by a guy who doesn't drop passes, and a game in which their loss was partially set up by that same guy fumbling, which he hadn't done since 2019. The Chiefs getting a safety self-induced for that game to land on 9 when the number was between 8.5 and 9.5 all week. The Eagles pushing at 6 because of Jake Elliott missed extra points. And then, by the way, the college football playoff last night, that game closed at 8.5, opened at 9.5. It was at 8, and with 90 seconds left, it's third and long-ish, and you're thinking maybe we got a shot here to cover. As a Notre Dame backer, they go 56 yards and score a game-clinching covering field goal. The drama around the edges of these numbers has just been insane. It's been so exciting.
And it's also why, there's plenty of crazy people out there that believe there's some guy in the Swiss Alps with a time machine that makes these lines. Because you see a weekend like this, it's literally just shows how smart the bookmakers are and why we give so much respect to them. We talk about it because all these games are half a point here. And like you just said, stupidness, randomness to land on those exact numbers, right? 2 missed 2-pointers, miss extra point. And that's why we talk all the time that, people are like, why do you guys get so spooked off the number? This past year was just weird where numbers didn't really matter. When these island games happen, though, and the books are really locked in, right? They're just all focused on, hyper-focused on these games. There's always going to be outliers like that Commanders game, but usually the 1 to 2 points are going to matter, especially in the playoffs. And like we just said, this past weekend, we personally on the show, or I did, I should say, went 3-0-1, right? The one push against the Eagles should have been a 4-0 weekend. But the books are just so sharp. They make it so tough on paper. Depends when you got our numbers. You might have went 2-2, right? You lost on the Chiefs. You lost on the Eagles. It's brutal because the books are just that sharp right now. So, yeah, we talked Sunday night. The numbers we gave out, Chad, they got slammed. And that's just how it is in this point, the time of year where it's like the books are smart. They'll take the professional money earned in the week and they'll move heavy off respected money. And, yeah, I can't wait to dive into these games because it's the best time of year. You get the best football and you get the smartest bookmaker wise, number wise. So it really is the best.
Washington at Philly. The number is -6. The total is 47.5. Eagles 6-point favorites. We talked about it on Sunday night. I bet this as soon as it opened at 4.5. For 2 reasons. I wondered if bookmakers were keeping it a bit low in case they were worried about Jalen Hurts not playing. Since the line posted before that Eagles-Rams game was over. I had been wanting to fade Washington since the second its game with the Lions ended.
Yeah.
When you beat the number 1 seeded team as badly as they did in a high-scoring game in prime time with 33 million people watching, there is no way they are not going to be overvalued the next day. So I was a little dismayed. You and I chatted on Sunday night, and I was all in on betting the 4.5. And then even in the conversation, I got 7 books in front of me looking at Action Network and sort of running across the screen. 5 of them were at 5 or 5.5, including Bet365. Only 2 were at 4.5. And I felt like you, even though you said your rating was at 7, you weren't banging the drum to go after the 4.5.
Yeah, because I know my quarterback. I watched him after the game laugh and give insane answers to the media woman interviewing him. And it's like, this dude's on a ton of drugs. This dude is drugged the fuck up. His knees got to be bad. Because Jalen's not the type of dude that's like, yeah, shoot me up with whatever. I need to get out there. He's the kind of guy that he just wants to fight through. And if he's in that much pain, I was like, holy shit, I need them to do some tests before I'm putting heavy money onto this team. Because like we talked about, yeah, I made the number 7. It was 4.5. Obviously, I'm going to take a position on it. But my whole point was I'm not going to hammer this one like I was with the Chiefs number because I'm just like, this you nailed it. Obviously, this number is all the way up to 6.5 at most books, but that's part of my job. Like, I put the number out there that I had at 7. If we come in today and it's 3.5, I look like a fucking idiot. It's like that number, it went 3.5 against what I just said. Luckily, it's gone the other way, and I think that what you just talked about gives us more confidence about Hurts, that he is going to be healthy in this spot. So, there are so many different things we could dive into this game. Where do you want to start? You want to start with Commanders or Eagles side?
I want to start with the person I think might be the most important player on the field for the Eagles, who is Jalen Carter, and the fact that Commanders are going to be without Sam Cosmi, their right guard.
Yeah.
And to me, normally a right guard would not mean as much on passing downs, but with Carter, it's so different. And Evan had this great stat in his packet. The 4th most pass block snaps for any guard this year were from Sam Cosmi. That's a 51 guards with at least 500 pass blocking snaps. He was 1 of 11 with 1 sack or fewer allowed. So to me, I look, we already love the Eagles for a variety of reasons, but to me, it begins and ends with this defensive line, and that begins and ends with Jalen Carter.
Yeah, just brutal. Like, brutal loss, that offense. It's basically, it feels like in the hierarchy goes Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, then him. Like, that was the 3 most important parts, in my opinion, to their offense. And you nailed it. Like, how dominant that guy's been in pass pro. Now, we know Jaden Daniels helps those numbers, right? Like, if you have it's like Josh Allen. Like, if you have a quarterback that can move, it's going to make the lines and numbers look way better and kind of give them the free bump. But when you really dive into it, this guy is so legit. And the fact that he's going to be missing here, it's so much of. And I just want to touch on what you touched at the top of it about, we already knew we were probably going to be on the Eagles just because the Jaden Daniels is getting more of a value in the spot. I mean, even Screaming A. Smith on ESPN is saying he likes them to win the Super Bowl now, that this is the team of destiny. You're dead. You are absolutely dead. When the man who doesn't watch football in 15 years is saying you're the team of destiny, you are absolutely dead. So I feel bad for the Washington Commanders, but they can live in this moment. You never know. That's what's so great about the playoffs in this exact spot. Like, we're a couple of just talking heads. Fuck if we know. Like, the game can have weird bounces, and they can easily win this game. They've put themselves in this position, but this is a game when you dive into the numbers, they are dead on arrival. Like, there really is so many things that need to go their way for them to pull off this upset, just because they are so underwhelmingly matched in so many different areas of this football game. And we just talked about them being overvalued. Chad, have you looked at futures at all for next season?
Oh my God, it's fucking insane.
They're 16 to 1, these Commanders.
The Commanders, the hype on the
1.
Commanders is absurd right now.
So they're above the 49ers, the Packers, the Bengals, just to name a few right now in the Future Bowl super odds next year. It's peak. Like, we know the deal. Like, Jaden Daniels will be lucky to make the playoffs next year, because we know regression is going to hit him like crack in the 80s. He is going to be hurting next year. Like, the league is going to figure him out in a bunch of different ways, and that's just how it is in this league. Like, we talk all the time, these are the best of the best. The coaches are paid millions of dollars to sit back there and figure out ways, and this could be peak. That's why, like, I don't want to be shitting on this Commanders thing too much. We've seen it so many times that Dan Marino, the greatest quarterback when I was growing up in my lifetime, like watching on him in film, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady replaced him, in my opinion, of being the next, like, the greatest. But Marino, you go back and watch the tape, it's flukish that he never made it back to the Super Bowl. That's why Washington fans, you should enjoy this. You're literally a win away from the Super Bowl. I'm sorry I'm about to dive into these numbers and just shit on your team in a bunch of different ways, but that's what we're here to do, Chad. And I just want to start right with their defense. Something me and you talked about, their run defense. That is the biggest thing that jumps out to you when you dive into any of these numbers. And I know, there are some numbers that say they do get better in the second half. They are able to make adjustments, and their run defense does improve in the second half. But just over the course of the season, 26 in run defense DVOA. Okay, that's alarming. 23rd in adjusted line. 31st in second level yards allowed, so past the 5 and 10 yard marker.
Which is where Saquon Barkley
lives. 26 in open field yards allowed. So
Saquon Barkley lives.
Yeah. I mean, it couldn't be worse. I mean, Evan just put in our chat, rushing prop for Saquon, 127 yards.
Might be too low.
It might be too low. It's like to me, I was trying to find an angle for the Commanders just because, Hurts is banged up. Janie Daniels is the difference maker. We've never seen a rookie quarterback like him, but that defense is a real issue. Now, when we really break this down and look at the games, me and you were all over Tampa against this Commanders team.
Yep.
We even said it. If Baker just played a little bit smarter, that's a no-brainer win cover.
Double digits.
Yes. We both feel the same exact way about that.
I feel like I'm your chorus right now. Anything you say, I'm just like, amen.
No,
preach it, brother.
In. But it's just you really dive into it, and I get the hype, but that's what people have to push through the media bullshit of the shiny new toy. No one wants to see an Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. I'm an Eagles fan. I would love nothing more for a rookie quarterback to be playing the Bills. All the Bills history.
Bullshit.
Honestly, I'm an Eagles fan, so yes, deep down, I want the Eagles clearly, but I'm saying as a fan of football, no one, dude, it killed me last year having to talk 49ers Chiefs again. No one wanted to talk that again. So it's that's part of it. I get where the media is coming from, hyping up this team right now, but when you really go through it, they needed Baker to have a disaster game to have that type of game. They needed Goff to melt, absolutely melt. And we joked about it. If they just handed the ball off that entire game, I really do think they probably win that game in the Detroit Lions. And they're now in a spot playing an Eagles team that is +6 in the turnover rate. But I think we could both agree, Chad, they've not played their best football in 2 weeks in the playoffs. They've left a lot of plays on the field. They have struggled in different ways. And now is it coming to a team that, honestly, if this was the regular season, this would be the perfect spot to back this Eagles team in the sense of they match up great against them. And this is the kind of spot where they get back into their groove of what they've been this regular season. And, the fact that the defensive numbers are what they are for the rush defense, that's everything to me. Because I agreed with a lot of what you said about the Ravens and Bills. The Bills' biggest weakness was the rush. And that's why I got where you're coming from. It's the same thing here. And Hurts, on the flip side, he's been the gift that he's been doing. He's not turning the ball over. That's why these Eagles teams have been winning these last 2 games. So, yeah, it's when you dive into it, and we're going to the Commander side right now, it's the first thing that jumps out to me. Yes, we're all impressed by Jane Daniels, but it's really this defense that they're totally being overlooked here. No one's bringing up their defense just because we're all so enamored with Jaden Daniels right now.
Yeah, the defense got so torched by the Lions running game. The Lions they kind of did pull what the Ravens pulled the year before against the Chiefs in the championship game. All they had to do was keep giving the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. And they kept, they got too cute by half a couple of times, especially on that Jameson Williams pass, right? Yeah. And so those things are game killers in the playoffs. The Eagles don't have that benefit. Jalen Hurts is hobbled. And by the way, we still don't have official confirmation he's playing this weekend. We just haven't been given confirmation that he's got structural damage or anything that would keep him from playing. So we have to assume that he's playing. And by the way the numbers moving gives every indication that he is playing. And
real respected money, right? Is moving
that's
on.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
we've seen on the show how often Simon is able to indicate ahead of the market because he has sources throughout the NFL, as do a lot of professional bettors. It's not just Adam Schefter. Everybody has sources in the NFL. I knew over the weekend what was going on with the Bears. The people like
to talk. People like to talk.
And so it's people aren't betting heavy on the Eagles right now because they're guessing Jalen Hurts might play. The Eagles don't have the same predilections as the Lions, right? They don't have the same kind of offense. Their offense is run behind Jordan Mailata, run behind Lane Johnson, give the ball to Saquon Barkley, let him get 127.5 yards in one play. And on the 3rd and 4, roll Jalen Hurts out, and keep moving the ball, wait for that big play, beat down the other side of the defense. So, yeah, they're just good. And the Commanders' defense is so bad.
And even if Hurts is banged up, we just talked about it, they'll shoot him up. And to me, we've seen time and time again. I mean, one of my favorite bets ever, I lost to Chad. We went head-to-head. I like Cleveland. He liked the Browns. It was Deshaun Watson's last game, maybe ever. for the Cleveland Browns. And basically, they're down, I think, 10 at half. And Watson breaks his collarbone. They shoot him up. He comes out and is basically perfect
Brilliant.
against the Ravens the second half. And you've seen that time and time again. My favorite, too, Aaron Rodgers against your Bears team. Came out that second half all messed up, was perfect in the game, flawless in the second half. And it's just because it turns off that thinking piece, right? And, we joked about that Eagles game. People, I told you they were going to do it. They were going to shit on Hurts after that game last week because he didn't have the numbers, negating A.J. Brown dropped that touchdown, negating he had another drop for another 20 yards. Smith had a drop that was another 20, 30 yards. It's like, that's just how it is, right? Because a lot of these guys don't watch these games, which sounds crazy, people. I'm telling you, they just don't. They're living the good life. So to me, even if Hurts is hampered here, we broke it down what we think this is going to be. This is going to be a lean, heavy on-run game. Hurts, same thing he's been all season, especially in the playoffs here. 15 to 16 completions, maybe 25, 24 passes total. That's what the Eagles want to be. And we saw with Josh Allen, the Bills. The teams have figured out where if you're just smart, protect the ball and run it, let the other team make the mistake. It's impossible now to pick up big chunk plays usually. Let them dink and dunk down the field and wait for them to make a mistake. I do think it's stolen from the Chiefs. Like, that's what the Chiefs model has been the last 2 years. And all these teams have leaned into and adapted to it. And that's not Washington's game. Like, that's not who Jay Daniels is. So, I like the hype. I just love it all right now because it is fueling the public reception. Even the Action app, I was looking before it came on. The tickets all on Washington, even though it's moved against them. Because you look in the Action app, the money right now is on the Eagles. So it is professional money, obviously, early here. And I know you love referee stats. Have you seen any of the ref stats for this game yet?
I just saw the one about Sean Hockley that Evan had as the only one I've seen.
Yeah. So Eagles 6-0 with Sean Hockley, 5-1 against the spread. Commanders 1-2, 0-3 against a straight up 0-3 against the spread with him. And again, doesn't really matter. That's kind of like a random, just stupid stat. But there's a lot of ones this week that are just like that kind of back up that, this is just a bad spot for this Commanders team. The biggest one I took from Evan was the Commanders are the 8th team since 2000 entered a playoff game on their 4th road game in a row. 4th road game in a row. So pretty big deal. Those previous 7, 0-7 straight up, 1-5-1 against the spread in this exact spot. So the Commanders are just already in a really tough spot. And there's already a lot of factors going against them with defensively, offensively. So, yeah, we talked about it. This rookie, the greatest we've ever seen, never seen anything like it. He literally needs to be perfect in this game for them to pull off this upset. So that's why right now I think we're both in agreement. It's still under 7. I still think the value is on this Eagles team at 6. So that was a long-winded way to get there. But that's what I wanted to get into is just there's so many different numbers backing this Eagles team in this spot. Not just what we know is bettors, which is this is going to be an overvalued team. And on the flip side, Eagles who didn't cover for about 90% of the bettors who took them. And, they look bad. They have a banged-up quarterback. They're now the underrated team favored at home in a spot that's great for them. So a very unique spot for backing this Eagles team.
2 things I'm glad you brought up. Number one, there are, when you get to this stage, a shitload of red herring stats, right?
Yeah. Great way to put it.
The Hockley stat, the other stat about the 4 straight road games, they're good information, but they're not the information you base your decision on. And oftentimes, our first instinct on these after, at this point, what is it? 19 weeks, 20 weeks of watching football and seeing these games and seeing how the market is moving. Your first instinct on the number. I have found it much easier during the playoffs to bet with confidence on Sunday night than I was during the season because there's only so many games. At this point in the season, you have a good sense of which way the market is going to move based on who won and the perception of that team going forward. And so this was an obvious one. I will give you one last stat because this one felt like it was a big enough sample size. The Commanders have won 7 in a row. 15 teams have entered a conference championship game on a 7+ game straight up win streak since 2004. 4-11 against the spread, failing to cover by 4.5 points. So last week you talked about an alt line on the Eagles at, I think, -10. That's how this might line up too, if we want to get a little funky and we're starting to feel really confident about the Eagles. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
there's a lot of meat on that bone for sure.
Hey, as an Eagles fan, now that I can bask in the glory of having probably the best offensive mind in a generation and a guy like already getting fitted for Super Bowl rings, Nick Sirianni has clearly bought himself another year. And all this week, because the media is so predictable, glowing, 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 glowing stories about Nick Sirianni and how he connects with his players and Nick Sirianni and how he has remained calm and comfortable throughout this entire hot seat process. How do you feel about Nick Sirianni continuing to be the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles?
I'm tough to get off my views of people. Like once I have a view on you, you rub me the wrong way, I'm kind of stuck in on it, and I'll never get there with him, unfortunately. Even if we get to Super Bowl, maybe that will be it. Maybe if we win it, I'll be like, okay, I do give this guy too much, but I'm still of the mindset of it's all Howie, baby. Like Howie is just giving him the best possible car you can drive, and his whole job is just not to fuck this up. And that Rams game, Chad, I was about 20 seconds away from him being fired. Like they score that touchdown there at the end, and we lose that game. I mean, unless he knows something about Jeffrey Lurie we don't know, you got to fire him after that type of loss. You lose when you're up 13 with 4 minutes to go and you blow that. That would be on him. But yeah, I mean, I've seen all the stats. He has the most wins in NFL history in his first 4 seasons coaching. But I mean, we all see what's happening here. It's like one of the best teams you can put onto the field. It's all built by Howie, and you know, I'll give him his roses that he is a good team coach and he's kept these guys in his right mindset. And we're a game away from the Super Bowl here, but yeah, it's still like that game, that Rams game, Chad. That's why it's hard for me with him sometimes because those games snowball and they keep showing him on the sideline with his dumb look on his face. I'm just like, there's nothing happening right now in this guy. This guy is not. There's nothing he can do right now. This is totally out of his control. And yeah, it's incredible what he's done. You know, he might go back-to-back Super Bowls in 2 years. It's pretty impressive, obviously.
It's like, by the way, you mentioned Dan Marino as like in your lifetime. Dude, Dan Marino's my lifetime. He's not your lifetime.
I drafted Dan Marino in fantasy football, so shut the fuck up, Chad. He's in my lifetime.
When did you draft Dan Marino in fantasy football? He retired in like, when did you retire? In like 98?
98.
Jesus Christ, you were 3.
I appreciate that. A little older than that, but no, I got him.
Before we get to Bills Chiefs, it has come to our attention. So we had a little fun before the season started. A huge percentage of our current favorites audience has never seen something important, very important, which we aired back on August 27th. Let's fix that right now. As all of you know, a lot of times with the ad reads, I just read whatever is put in front of me, and Matt Mitchell will oftentimes make me chuckle. I'm reading it for the first time. It makes Simon chuckle. It's a gift. He is a gift that keeps on giving with our ad reads. So Matt Mitchell played a very long con on me over the course of a full year. He wrote a bunch of fake sponsorship reads. He got me to record them by mixing them in with our real ad reads. As I said, he knows I'll read anything he puts in front of me. I am Ron Burgundy. So he then cut them together into a montage. We played them on the show. We also, unbeknownst to me, Matt Mitchell, played them in a massive Action Network town hall for the entire company to see, making me look like the fool that I am. Enjoy this fake ad read interlude. Cold New England weather is finally here, and for sports bettors who like to stay up or sleep in, Snuggle City weighted blankets have the perfect item for those frosty evenings and early mornings ahead. Surround yourself in ultra soft faux fur lining of a Snuggle City weighted blanket. Say aye to flavor with YY Cooler's a refreshing new wine cooler from the Ying Yang Twins. That's right, the Grammy-nominated hip-hop legends have teamed up with some of California's finest vineyards to give football fans the ultimate game day beverage. Enter a world of elves, dragons, and flying maidens with Baltic battles. The all-new board game from Majesto Games. Say goodbye to scraping and messy grease cleanups forever with the Charboy, the new no-clean grill from Weber. Come work at Dollywood Parks and Resorts at the gateway to the Great Smoky Mountains. Named one of America's best employers by Forbes magazine, Dollywood Parks and Resorts needs people just like you to help us spread miles of smiles all summer long. Attention all Canadians, celebrate the True North strong and free this Victoria Day. In the spirit of Queen Victoria herself, help our neediest Canadians with a donation to the Victoria Day Foundation. Even the humblest gift of a loonie or a toonie can make all the difference for Canadians from Halifax to Chilliwack. Because when those cinder blocks stay dry, we can all sigh with relief this summer. Come sail away with Captain Kincaid's Seafood Express. Delight your taste buds and amaze your dinner guests with fresh-caught seafood packed in Captain Kincaid's state-of-the-art cooling chambers. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what you want. If it comes from the sea's delicious bounty, Captain Kincaid's Seafood Express has you covered. Deliciousness. Ahoy! All right, Simon, it's time for an ad read, a real ad read. Our producer, Matt Mitchell, does look incredibly confident this week, full of zeal, with a renewed lust for life. I think some of his hair may even be growing back, and I assumed it was because his Buffalo Bills are headed back to the AFC Championship game. Upon closer inspection, I was mistaken. It's because he's decked out head to toe in the comfort of Tommy John, and with a special sale for our listeners, you too can enjoy the comfort Matt, Simon, and I experience from head to toe. Join the comfortable men and women who've left thousands of five-star reviews raving about Tommy John as they enjoy maximum comfort. Simon, why will you be wearing more Tommy John in 2025?
Because comfort is king.
Right now, you can shop TommyJohn.com/favorites and get 25% off your first order. Save 25% at TommyJohn.com/favorites. That's TommyJohn.com/favorites. Buffalo at Kansas City. This is the primetime game. Some would say it's the main event. Kansas City is a 1.5-point favorite. At least they were as we came on the air. I have not checked the number in the last, 40 minutes. The total is 47.5. Before we get into it, I do want to say I love our watchers and our viewers and our listeners, because the Saquon Barkley rushing prop that started at 127.5 is now up to 129.5. So good for you guys for jumping on that so fast. Way to move the market. Here we go again, Simon. AFC title game. Patrick Mahomes, short favorite. We both loved it at 1.5 on Sunday night.
Simon says, give me the Chiefs -1.5.
Simon says Chiefs -1.5.
This line's going to go up to 2.5 by kick, in my opinion. I do think the professionals will come in on this Chiefs side, and it really is a game where, not to take anything from this Bills season, it's been incredible. I think even Bills fans would tell you this was supposed to be, win the division, maybe get in as a 4-3 seed. Happy as hell to be at this spot. And obviously, when you're carrying whatever it is, $30 million, it could be of dead cap because of Stephon Diggs, it's a big deal. They have an aging defense. We've heard ad nauseum how they have a small, undersized defense that can be run on. We know the deal. It's Josh Allen. It's the magic of Josh Allen. So if you're someone that is betting him here, that's all you can hang your hat on. You're just betting on the year of Josh Allen. And again, the reason I thought he was the MVP, him and Peyton Manning, the only all-pros ever to have no other all-pros on their team. Like, that's an insane stat. This guy was an all-pro. I mean, we talked that he didn't do it alone. Obviously, it's a full team. The offensive line, Cooks, the running back. Like, he has weapons, but it is all Josh Allen. Like, that game against the Bills, against the Ravens, I should say, that was the new Josh Allen, the smart Josh Allen that doesn't make mistakes, shoot himself in the foot Josh Allen. I mean, I was waiting for it. I don't know about you, Chad. I was waiting for it in that game. Like, I was like, one's coming with Josh. He's going to throw one. He's going to get past. He's going to be impatient. Because you could see in that second half, he was getting pissed off. He was
Yeah.
like, why is McDermott not letting me just run this offense right now? Why are we keep running into these 7 front walls? And he didn't do it. Like, I really tip my hat to him. That's my favorite part about this, is seeing the growth in different players. And it's like, that was the next step for Josh, was to get rid of the stupid turnover, especially in the red zone. And he's done that. So, yes, heading into this game, no one's model should have the Bills as a favorite here. They should be an underdog in this spot. Like, the Chiefs, they're a better team across the board. The number being below 3 is just a respect that the bookmakers and a lot of professionals have for Josh Allen and what he's done this season. And the fear of betting against him, right? That's another part of this. But, when I dove into this game, the first thing I thought to myself, Chad, was I would handicap this totally different if this was in Orchard Park rather than it's in Arrowhead. And that, to me, is the difference. I mean, Matt Mitchell knows the only games they've lost this year, what's the big common factor in all those games? It's on the road. Like, they were perfect at home this season, but on the road, it was just a different story. They lost to the Ravens. We all remember that in September, 10-35. Then they lost to Houston, a game we loved. Then they had that, crazy game against the Rams that Josh Allen did everything he could, still fell short, right? Because of this defense. They gave up 44 points. They lost 42-44. Insane win the next week against the Lions. Well, like, seriously, he was full on God mode. They went 48-42. Like, we're talking insane numbers here. And then, obviously, we don't really even count it. They had lost to the New England Patriots end of the season on the road. And, when I break it all down with this Bills team, it's like, it's all about what kind of Josh Allen's going to show up here, Chad. Like, I know betting the Chiefs here, we could easily get burned. If Josh Allen has the ball last, I just can't see him losing it. Like, this is his year. It really is. Like, it's his moment. That's why I love all the conversation around Lamar getting too much hate for that game. It's like, well, if he would have got the 2-pointer, the game would have been tied. Yeah, Josh Allen had a minute 32 timeouts. Like, that game was dead. It was over. And, when I look at this game here, it's the same type of view. If Josh has the ball and last, I do think I'll get burned here. But, you talk Sunday night. I do think it's about the number here. And 1.5, to me, that's great value. Like, it's below the key number of 2, which I talk all the time about. That Ravens game landed on 2. We see it all the time now, though. It's 2 has become such an important number. So that's why I made it Simon Says, Chad. When I saw that you could still get 1.5 right now at our sponsor, Bet365, it's like, tell the people go get it. I know depends on your book, what state you're in. You might already be stuck on the 2, but I really hope you can find the 1.5. It's just such a key number.
I'm shocked that it hadn't moved to 2 already, because the juice has been headed in that direction for at least 24 hours. So the fact it's still sitting at 1.5 is a bit of a surprise. You beat me to the punch on the Simon Says, because I wanted to make this my exact decision.
Do it. I mean, there's like 4 games to pick up. I mean, there's only 2 games to pick from. I mean,
I
no
know.
one's gonna fault you.
So what I would like to do, because the other thing I was going to do was grab the Chiefs on the money line at -125, because that is still available.
Yeah.
Still a relatively good price. I would like permission from you and from Matt Mitchell, as the partners and arbiters of our rules, that it's not a cop-out to be taking Kansas City on the money line, because I do have reasons to want to do it, and the number's so short that it's not like I'm taking a 6-point favorite.
Yeah, it's below -150. I'll definitely, Matt Mitchell allowed. I'll allow it.
All right.
It's not
Then
that
I
bad
am
of juice.
taking, my exact decision is KC on the money line. Here's a stat from Evan.
Yeah, give me some stats.
In home games in November or later, when the temperature is 40 degrees or less, Mahomes is 23-2 straight up in his career. He's won 20 in a row, hasn't lost since losing to Tom Brady in 2019. So I know, like, okay, great, regression, jinx, whatever. Like, it's Patrick Mahomes. And Brady actually said something. He was on Cowherd the other day. He said something that I thought was just crazy smart. Why is Patrick Mahomes so good in the playoffs? Because more often than not, especially at the end of the game, you've got to stop him for 4 downs. And it's so freaking hard to stop Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes 4 straight downs from moving the ball and getting the first down that they need. It just is. And so, as much as you were saying Josh Allen gets the ball at the end, Patrick Mahomes gets the ball at the end.
Yeah.
And I also think if Patrick Mahomes has a lead and he has the ball, with 4 minutes left, they win that game. They don't give the ball up. And I don't think the Bills can stop them. So that's why I like the Chiefs. I'm really excited about our futures conversation because right now the Eagles have the shortest odds and the Chiefs have the second shortest odds. And so when we are talking about this on Thursday, I'm excited to get into this a little bit more deeply. I do have concerns. I have big, big concerns about the Chiefs. Would you like to hear some of them?
I love to hear so.
All right. So the Chiefs running game, not nearly explosive as the Ravens. And that's how the Chiefs got themselves, or the Ravens got themselves back into the game against the Bills, because I do think that rush defense was a little bit exploitable. Concern or not concerned for you?
Not concerned.
How come?
I think Houston is like a legit, like top 5 defense, especially against the run. The Bills are bottom of the barrel. They're undersized. This is just an undersized team, and I think Matt Milano might miss this game as well. Who, if you go back and watch that Ravens game, Chad, he was
the
game
difference.
changer. Yeah, he was big time, and he basically didn't play the final 3 snaps of that game because of an injury. So, McDermott's been shut mouth about it, but just reading between the lines, it seems like he is going to miss that switch. To me, in a defense that can't afford to lose someone as important to him, and against a Chiefs team like this, it's going to be deadly for matchups for offensively.
Also might be missing Rapp in the secondary.
Yeah.
And they might be down 2 defensive backs, 2 starters. So, okay. Thank you for that. Here was a great, this conversation about Patrick Mahomes and the flopping and the penalties. And we talked
Yeah.
about it. Like, I love grouchy Troy Aikman. He's become my favorite announcer. I think his attitude and approach and honesty with everything, he's just entered the fuck it. I'm a Hall of Famer and I'm Troy Aikman making 18 million a year. I don't give a shit what I say anymore.
He's no Tony Kornheiser, but he's good.
He's great though. He's great. So I at first I was like, are the refs going to be cautious calling penalties on Mahomes given the blowback this weekend? Will they get a call from the league office? Do you have any concerns about that? And then I have something I heard from on the Ryan Russillo pod, which blew me away.
No, because even if you go and watch it, like the thing I loved about Troy getting so mad about was that is when he slid in the middle of the field and the 2 defenders hit above his head and they flagged it, right? Unnecessary roughness. They flagged it because if those 2 dudes collide and meet at Mahomes' head, the 3-peat is over. That dude is concussed, dead on the field. That's why they threw that flag. Like, they don't want it to be ended because of a dirty hit or an injury. They want it to be ended because they lose a game. That was the whole reason the refs were throwing those flags, to protect the guy. It's like, that's why I love Troy Aikman losing a shit about it. It's like, Troy, you probably could have played for 5 more years if they would protect you the same way, dude. Like, yeah. It's just, you just sound like, again, I know you love me. You sound like just a bitter old man that's just tired of how soft the league has gotten. But it's like, we need this league to be soft. We all have gone through seasons of backups. It is the worst ever watching just terrible quarterback play in this league. So that's why they need to protect guys, especially a guy like Mahomes. So, yeah, that was, the flop, I think, was what really pissed him off, which everyone online got pissed off about. But that wasn't even flagged. So, again, people think the Chiefs got all these flags. When you probably break it down, it's probably closer to 50-50 than people realize. But I guess, as fans, we just get pissed off about this stuff. So, yeah, it's low-hanging fruit. I'm with them, though. It pisses me off, too, watching Mahomes get all these flags on key third downs.
For the record, Troy Aikman's always been grumpy. I remember, because I've been a reporter for a long time.
You have.
With Sports Illustrated, I went down to SI to Dallas in 1994. We did an entire week with the Cowboys. We had full access. We did an entire issue of Sports Illustrated about the week with the Cowboys. So me and Rick Tellender was the senior writer who was writing
30 years of the Cowboys' favorite time period.
Yeah, it was great, right? It was like the early 90s, and you knew exactly where to hang out, what clubs they were at. Like, you'd go hang out.
Cell phone in sight.
Oh my God, it was amazing, right? But I remember sitting with Aikman in the locker room, and this was when the NFL was changing a lot of the balls and sort of making quarterbacks use different balls. And he was in the locker room testing out a bag of balls and just he's like, this fucking league, they keep trying to fuck things. Like, he was just so angry about having to use different balls. Like, he clearly can be a grouchy guy, which I've come to appreciate.
Which is insane. Imagine Imagine being that good looking, having the career he's had, and then being grouchy. Will never make sense.
I fucking love it. Russillo had a great stat. Here's a trivia for you. The past 2 years, Kansas City opponents have been flagged for 48 penalties in the fourth quarter and OT of one-score games. How many have the Chiefs had in the same time period in the same circumstances?
Like I said, I bet you it's 50-50.
It is
Is it?
47.
Yeah, right near it. So yeah, that's what I mean. We're stupid fans. I mean, let's be serious here. That's how we are. We see that they get the calls because it's in these big moments, but it's because the Chiefs are always playing in these big games. And it's been making the rounds today or yesterday. That Chris Jones flag against Tom Brady, that was the last time, like you just said, the last time he lost this game, it was that game on a fourth down.
That's right.
Brady gets an insane call, goes down, ties the game, or wins the game in overtime. It's like, they give the breaks to the guys. That's just how it is. He's always going to get the calls because it's Mahomes, but you just broke it down. It's not as egregious as we make it out to be, but, we talk all the time. The refs dictate a lot of these games. Even that Bills game, that ghost holding call. So Lamar has that pick. The Bills get the ball. Josh Allen has a perfect pass. It should be 3rd and 3. They called a ridiculous holding penalty against the Bills. It wasn't even a hold. He just smacked the guy's arms down.
Yeah.
So instead of being 2nd and 3, it backed them up to wherever it was, 2nd and 19. And then they went 3 and out and they punted. So now I had to hear everyone today say, well, that pick didn't even hurt Lamar. And it's like, yeah, because the refs made that call. So that's what I mean. We talk all the time. Like, you're going to get your bad calls every game. And like most fans, I hate the Chiefs. So no matter what, I'm going to bitch about the flag. So that's just how it is.
The Bills' rush offense is insanely good right now. The best rush defense by success rate in the NFL this past year was the Broncos. They allowed successful rushes 33.6% of the time. In the wild card game, the Bills had a 50% success rate, the best against the Broncos all season. The next week, the second best rush defense by success rate was the Ravens. The Bills ran all over the Ravens. 55.6% success rate. Should I be concerned about the Bills dominating on the ground against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously are going to have a good run game, but it comes back to Spags. We trust Spags, don't we? I mean, he's been good to us. So, yeah, like you said, there's going to be numbers that are going to point to this Bills team, but just overall, I can't get there because of the number, brother. That to me is the same thing with the Bills last week. I told you, it was like, it's all about the number here. If I was getting Lamar at anything greater than +2, auto play. That came out to be the right idea. Same thing here. It's like, if you get Josh Allen at +3, I'm happy to take a position on him. But anything below that, I just think what we just talked about, it's an overvalued team. And I don't want to get too sucked into the weeds with the numbers because we talked about it last year. Like, the Chiefs, they do this to us. Like, they have the 22nd ranked offense, whatever the hell it is. And it none of it makes sense. We know, people. We're living it. Like, that's the toughest part here where coming into this one, I'm trying to find an angle to take Josh Allen because I loved last week. I've loved this whole season with him, and I want him to break down the curse. Like, we know the history here. He's 0-3 against Mahomes. And, another funny part, another meme I love that's going around is poor Josh Allen, Bills fan. Even if they win this game, they got to face an NFC East team in the Super Bowl no matter what. So he could slay a bunch of demons and dragons for this organization. He could get over the hump, get through Mahomes and Arrowhead, and then take on an NFC East team to take them down as well. So I get the love and why. Again, another thing in the media, everyone's talking Bills Super Bowl. Everyone's picking them now. Everyone's all in because we're all sick of this Chiefs team and the Mahomes magic. But we know we're getting great value here. How can we not take this number? 1.5 is just so insane to me that we're actually still getting this number. Like you just said, I thought we'd come in today and it'd be 2, and I was going to have to scramble and find, as Simon says. And that's why I try to jump ahead of you and grab it, because I was like, when you didn't say anything in the Eagles game, I'm like, shit, Chad might be on the Chiefs here. But we agree. This is just, it's too good of a number to pass on right now. There's so much value on this number at this point. So, yeah, it's tough because the heart wants the Bills. I think any fan with a soul wants the Bills and that fan base to get to the Super Bowl and win it. But it's just a bad spot, and there just doesn't feel like the right team with Josh Allen. Like, eventually I feel like he will get over the hump. I can't see it here. Like, he just doesn't, to me, he doesn't have the dogs around him. But like you said, it's all laid out there. If they can run the ball, no turnovers with him, he has the ball last, like you said, whoever has the ball last controls that clock, Chad. That's who's going to win it. We know that bet in this game. That's why it is a coin flip game. And to me, that's why you need to take the value on the Chiefs. The coin flip game, the value is on this team right now because it's under the 2 number of keys. So under the key number of 2. If you're just being patient, you want to bet the Bills. I saw late night a bunch of 2s and a halves popping, especially offshore. I think I'll get there by game time because I do think Chiefs money will come in eventually as this week goes along here.
As part of my training, I have no soul. So
No.
I don't care if Josh Allen slays his demons in this
Oh,
game. I
oh,
and I love Matt Mitchell to death,
sounds like it.
and like his happiness is so important to me, and his happiness during our entire relationship, going back to when he was just a guy who listened to Behind the Bets and emailed me when I was at ESPN. uh, Nothing has meant more to me outside of my family than his happiness and growth in his career. But I don't care if Josh Allen slays his demons. I think he's a lovely guy. I want the Chiefs. I want history. I want a three-peat. I want dominance. I want things that have never been done before. That's what I'm rooting for. I had a long conversation with my kid about this the other day, about like how much I like to root for teams to be historic. And I think the Chiefs can be historic. And I actually get to like rooting for them too. Better coach, much better defensive coordinator. I've got the best quarterback in a generation, the best tight end in a generation against a middle of the Bills D that can't stop anybody, even when Matt Milano was playing. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah. Like, again, I didn't want to do too much of the numbers, so we're running up against the time, but
Yeah.
that's
We'll,
something we
we'll,
didn't get to.
we'll
The
get
numbers,
more on Thursday.
but just the numbers against tight ends. Like you saw Isaiah Leckie, Mark Andrews. It felt like they were always open when Lamar could find them. And do you think we really think it's going to change here against, arguably the greatest tight end that's ever played football and Kelsey? So there are a lot of matchups that do favor this Chiefs team, but you kind of nailed it how the Bills can't pull off this upset. It really is all about that run game, ball control, and Josh Allen. And, we know Mahomes is going to get his, but we also know they're going to sputter. Like you said, they've been inconsistent offensively all season, running the ball and a lot of things. So there are ways for the Bills to do it, but I am happy we're both in agreement here because it was no fun last week going against you and then having to bully you Sunday night for your love
Hated
for
it.
Lamar. So I'm happy we're both in love with this number on this Chiefs team at -1.5.
Likely and Andrews, by the way, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews against the Bills combined for 9 catches, 139 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Damn,
And Mark Andrews was wide open for a game tying 2-point conversion. And you and I are in such a mind meld that I already had that stat.
love
I
it.
researched it yesterday. All right, we're going to dig in more on both these games on Thursday. Plus, we're going to reveal the futures matchups bet that Simon and I both made before the season began, separate from each other, that we talked about on the show, that is still in play. And so we're going to talk about some hedging strategies, and we will also talk about the Super Bowl futures we like with the 4 remaining teams heading into conference championship weekend on Thursday. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. And now new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code Favorites, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Simon and I will return with our next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page, 11 a.m. Eastern, Thursday, to talk our conference championship best bets in addition to Simon Says an Exec Decision. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.